Okay, so I don't know if my friends are gonna let me live it down, make it a Minecraft video, but I was playing around with redstone and portals, and I thought this was interesting and potentially useful. So, you know how sometimes when you've got like a multiplayer server and you got multiple people with portals, but everyone's making their bases a little too close to the spawn, so you'll go in your portal and you come out of someone else's house, and then you have to walk all the way back to your portal. And you can kind of do toggleable portals. So just make sure you turn your portal off when you're done, so that people can come out through their own portals that they came in with, and as a courtesy rule, and that works well enough. But I had a thought, right? Because like going into your portal and coming out someone else's portal can be useful for taking shortcuts, right? But the problem is you don't really get to decide. It's just whichever one is closest to where it starts looking, right? So I thought, I'll make a system where you can, say you're at your base with your one portal, but you want to go to base number 3, right? So you push a button, run into your portal will go down, and then base number three's portal will light up. You leave and come out through that portal, right? So I've come out with this system. I originally did a system only worked with 2 portals, but then I realized on my server we actually had 3 people all making portals around spawn. So I decided to expand it a bit. I haven't put it into my actual server. There might be some limitations, which I'll go through later. That might make it a little less usable in practice, but I want to show you the basics. The proof of concept as well, it's not even the proof of concept. It's a fully functional system. I'm just not sure you can upscale it into something that's like a reasonable distance away would be useful. But we'll get to that later. I just want to show you how it works right now. So, right now, say the green portal's lit up. I want to go through the green portal, but I want to come out at the red, right? So what I'll do, and I'll push that switch and get over to this one real quick. Go in, come out of the Nether, as you do. Then I just go back. And now I'm at red. And now, let's say, I'm at red base, I do what I need to do, now I want to go to blue base. Maybe play a prank on my friend who is at blue base, mess up their chest or something, a harmless prank. Blow up their entire base and start from scratch, a harmless prank. So I'll push the switch, I'll run in, hopefully before it goes away, and I'll come out of the Nether. I can stay in here and do some stuff if I want to, but I don't need to, so I'm going right back out. And I'm at blue base. And that's basically the concept, right? You start at one, and you toggle them, and you go out through another. This is what it looks like if you do it like before. Like, let's say, okay, so I'm at my base, green base, and oh no, my portal's down. Someone was, screwing around, because they'd all be connected into the same system, ideally, right? So someone was toggling theirs, but I want to get into mine. So I'll hit green, but I'm not going to, run through like I normally would. So that one gets taken out, and this one comes on. And I can go in and I can do what I want, right? And I can do it with anyone. You toggle. It'll go through. It'll knock out anyone that happens to be open. And it'll open yours. Now, the way it's set up, any number of them can be open. They can all 3 be open. So let's say you've got like a quick switch, because this is a bit slow to give you time to run in. So this is like intentionally slow. But if you want like a quick switch at your base, like if you want to run in and you don't care where you come out or something, you can have a quick switch. I don't know. Maybe you'd have it. I don't really think you need it, because then you wouldn't know where you're coming out, and that kind of defeats the purpose. But let's say for whatever reason, all 3 of them are open, but you only want, let's say, blue base open, right? So you click blue base. It'll check which ones are open. It'll kill them all, and then it'll bring back just the one you want. To address the elephant in the room, this one is slower. I'm going to turn that off just to... Well, I guess that's why you'd have it, so you could have them all off. I mean, I don't think it's probably a good idea, because, like, someone could be in the Nether, you turn off all the portals, and then who knows where they're coming out. But I don't know, maybe you want it. So this one is designed slightly different than the other two, because I wanted to try and compact the design a little. It made it just a pinch slower. It also ended up moving up that dispenser that drops the water. But, well, let's run around back. So this is basically the entire circuit, so you can see why I wanted to compact it a bit. So instead of having it all come out and then go down like that, in here, I moved everything over and kind of used torches to make it all vertical. And so they're on different levels, they can be next to each other, so we don't need as much space left and right. So they can be powered separately without any issue. I'm not really sure how to explain this. I don't really do a lot of redstone. I'm only just now figuring out how it works, and Minecraft has been out for years. But yeah, that was just me trying to compact it a little bit. Hopefully you can kind of see what's going on with that. I'm just gonna cover it back up. Yeah, it was like this, I think. Yeah, that's like, yeah, that's it's a 3x3 cube behind your Nether portal, which, I mean, I think isn't that unreasonable, right? I mean, it's certainly better than running around over here, than all this jazz. Like, I realized there was about 1 million different ways of doing a toggleable Nether portal, so I don't know if my design would work with all of them, but it works with the way I did it, so I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm going to show it with one of the more open ones, because, you know, you can actually see what's going on. So I have over here, over on, oh, it's on the right side on this one, right? So I have over here a toggle, what do they call it, a T-switch or something to that effect. So all the tutorials I found only really talked about it having one output, but it does have two outputs, because you can take it from the middle, or you can take it from either one of these repeaters, right? But for some reason, all the tutorials are just kind of like, no, it's just an on and off toggle, when it's clearly a 2 output toggle. So I realized that, and I thought to myself, I can use that on this. So with the 1 output, it goes into these observers. There's 2 of them because it needs to, well, it needs to go in twice, right? It needs to quickly knock, you know, put the water in and then suck it back in before it, you know, before it drenches everything. So this one goes to the water, the one that shoots out the water, and that knocks down the Nether portal. And this other line, it goes to the one that shoots out the flint and steel, making the fire, right? Now, because I used observers, and observers will fire once when they're powered, and then fire again when they stop being powered, because, well, technically they're not even being powered, they're just observing that it is. But because of that, you get the water when you turn it on and when you turn it off. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, I guess, but it doesn't really make that big of a difference. So here's the main circuit without worrying about all the other stuff. This is just for the 1 portal, just for the regular toggle. You put it on, it'll switch over. See, it ran the water even though it didn't need to, right? And it switches over to this line now, powering the flint and steel. Which this one can stay on, because, like, it doesn't matter at all. But with the bucket, you need it to go on and then go again right away. So you flick the switch, the observers fire, and you couldn't really see it very well, so I'll do it again. See, like, it shoots it out, and then, like, a tick later, it sucks it back in. That actually might actually be like a slightly shorter than a tick, because I know that's a thing, but I don't really know if that's correct. Again, I don't know much about redstone. Sorry, this video is really disjointed. I'm just showing something off that I found was interesting, not really making a tutorial or nothing. So that's how I did the toggle. You know, you might be able to find a better way of doing it. There's a million ways to do it online. And then this is kind of really where all the meat and potatoes are. I've got, you know, all of these switches, or buttons, I guess. What they do is they're kind of bi-directional, right? The first direction has a delay on it, which just goes into the same exact input as this button. It just does the exact same thing this button does. It'll toggle it from whatever position it happens to be in and make it on or off. Of course, because of this line, it'll always be off when that happens, and that's why there's a delay here, is because it needs to, this line needs to be slower than this line. Both lines are slower than they strictly need to be because, you know, there should be some room to run in. And the idea is you have one of these at every single base, but that wasn't really necessary to demonstrate the, you know, the proof of concept, right? But yeah, you'd have these different bases, and it wouldn't be as cluttered because they'd all be further apart. All the wiring would be underground, you know, all that jazz. So, okay, they're all off right now. I'm just gonna turn this one on, just so we have one on. So when it turns it off, you push a button. The wire comes through here, and it gets into this circuit here, right? So what it'll do is it'll come to these AND gates, which I had to look up how to make. And the one side just checks to see if the portal is up already or if it isn't, right? So if the portal, if the portal is up, then it'll allow the circuit through, allow the power to come through, and it'll come through this end, it'll go through here, and it'll toggle it just the same as pushing the button would, but only if the portal's already up. Because if it just toggled it regardless, that wouldn't help anybody. You'd have some portals up, some down, and it wouldn't help anyone. So it has to check, is the portal already up? If so, then toggle. I could have made it just not toggle and just go right into there and knock the portal out, but then you'd end up with, like, you'd have to push the button twice in order to get the portal back up, and that'd just be a pain. This ended up working out more conveniently, where it will only do it if it needs to. It makes maybe a little bit more of a complex circuit, but it makes a more convenient user experience. Though all in all, the circuit isn't very complex. It just looks like it because a lot of stuff is, because, like, the 3 portals are, like, repeated. The actual circuit itself is mostly just moving the redstone, right? If you're going to put this on a big scale, I'd recommend probably putting the AND gates relatively close to the portals. And then you pretty much just have your one line that goes through to power everything. Now, you would have, I guess, probably 3 of these? I'm not sure. I don't think you'd need to. No, I don't think you need to, because they all do the same thing effectively. Because you'd have, yeah, you just have them all have, because this is just the turn it off line. So I think you'd only really need the one. You just have to be, yeah. I would say you have to be careful about where you connect. But I mean, as long as you connect to the turn it off line and not to the turn it on line, you should be fine. I don't think you'd need 3 different lines. I think just the one would do, and you just have to, like, because I could make another set of buttons over here and have them connect there, and it'd work just as well. And just have the other end go off to the portals. I mean, I wouldn't be able to here because there's not really any space. But say, you know, you have one over there, one over there, one over there. There'd be plenty of space to work with. You can make this sort of design, have stuff go underground, and reach each of the portals as you need to. Because they can all, because, like, look, if I made another button here, right? And I could, like, okay, so I want it to turn off. So that'll turn it off, and then I want it to turn on red base. I could just connect it up to here. Okay, I guess the signal wasn't strong enough to actually turn it off, but you get the idea. You just put a repeater down Just connect everything to the same central line, and it'll work out just well. Now, I'm going to address the one potential design flaw I mentioned earlier. Let me just fix this. That's nice. So, the one potential design flaw that I mentioned earlier was, I'm pretty sure redstone doesn't update if it's in a chunk that isn't loaded. So, and from what I got from reading the wiki, was on a multiplayer map, which is when you'd use this, like, I mean, you could use this on a single player map, I guess, if you had multiple bases, but my understanding is the game only loads chunks in like a 10 chunk radius from the player. So, and you'd be at one of them all the, like, whenever you ran this, right? So you'd want to make sure that, like, in one direction, 10 chunks, there's one portal, and then in another direction, there's 10. But and even that wouldn't really work, because then if I ran over here, 10 chunks north, then we got 10 chunks south, that one, and then 10 chunks further south, so 20 chunks, so it's out of range, and then this whole thing would break. I believe that's how that works. So they'd all have to be pretty much within 10 chunks of each other, or like within a 10 chunk sphere, I guess, if you wanted to make sure it was working right. So I don't know how useful that would be in practice, but I mean, it's relatively cheap to make, so if you wanted to be able to move around within 10 chunks relatively quickly, you know, faster than walking and faster than minecart probably, this is pretty useful, I think. Not sure I'll be able to put it in my server because of the chunks issue. I'm not sure that all my portals are within 10 chunks of each other, which I believe would be the limit, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, as you can see, the most expensive, well, I guess the most expensive thing here is the portal itself, but you're going to have one of those because, you know, no matter how you do it, you're going to need one of those, because that's the whole point of it. The most expensive actual redstone component is the observer, and in order to get an observer, you just need some nether quartz, and, like, you have access to the nether anyway, and nether quartz is all over the place, so I can't see it being an issue. I mean, there's a lot of repeaters, especially if you're going to be having these going all over the map, so that might be a little expensive. But I mean, a lot of the designs I see for just a toggleable thing use like hoppers and stuff like that, maybe even pistons. But this is a lot cheaper, and I'd say probably easier to wrap your head around. Oh yeah, those are my failed attempts from version 1, which is over there, where I only hooked 2 up to each other. This version is more efficient in pretty much every way, especially that I think it'd be infinitely expandable, because, I don't know, it's my experience. If you make something that works for 2, it only works for 2. But if you make something that works for 3, odds are it'll work for 4 and 5 and 6 and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Tell me what you think about it. Call me a loser virgin weeb for playing Minecraft in the comments. Alright. Have a good one.